Let's go ahead and open up with a prayer. All right, all brothers remove the head coverings, all sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Elder Mikhail, can you go ahead and open this up?
Our Father, most holy and true covenant, Elohim, we open Meshach and Yaakov. Praise you, Father Yahweh, in Yeshua's mighty name, your holy Son, Father Yahweh, and our Messiah and friend. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to gather together, Father Yahweh, to hear this word, Father. I pray, Father, we all pray, Father, to be nourished on this word, Father Yahweh. Because we know, Father Yahweh, the enemy tries to sift us any way he can, Father Yahweh. So we ask, Father Yahweh, to build us up, Father, and strengthen us, Father Yahweh, and see the error of our ways, Father, so we repent, Father, quickly, Father Yahweh. We know, Father Yahweh, that most of Father Yahweh's have troubles, Father Yahweh, to repent, Father, quickly, Father Yahweh. But we know, Father Yahweh, that we will because we belong to you, Father Yahweh, and we know we need to repent, Father Yahweh, or we will stop our blessings, Father, hinder our blessings, Father Yahweh. And we know, Father, we need your love and kindness consistently, day by day, Father Yahweh. So we ask, Father, keep our hearts soft and malleable, Father, to receive your mighty word, Father, to strengthen us, Father Yahweh, and deal with the enemy, Father Yahweh, as you want us to see fit, Father Yahweh, because you know, Father Yahweh, you teaching us, Father Yahweh, to rebuke the enemy, Father Yahweh. We will flee from Yahweh, to resist him, Father, and he will flee from us, Father Yahweh. So we ask you to get the strength, Father Yahweh, to fight against the enemy, Father Yahweh. And we ask, Father, to give us the knowledge, Father, to follow you, Father Yahweh, to know that you are speaking total truth to us, Father Yahweh. Because we know, Father, your word is truth, Father. So we ask, Father, to rightly divide this word, Father, to understand, Father, to do your mighty will, Father Yahweh. We know, Father, your scriptures say, Father, you do not hear sinners, Father Yahweh, but the ones, Father Yahweh, who wants to do your holy and mighty will, Father Yahweh. So we give you thanks and praise, Father Yahweh, for allowing us, Father, to give us the strength, Father, to do your will, Father. So, Father, I ask you to touch my brothers, Father, and let your words flow from their mouths, Father Yahweh. So we do your ministry, Father, not our ministry. So we give you thanks and praise in Yeshua's holy and mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Get some of the car. Shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharal. I'm my brother Yonatan Yasharal. Shalom. And today's Bible study, we are going to go over how to calculate the calendar for 2018. We know that the year doesn't start in January, but we know that we're going to have to use a Babylon calendar to figure out, where we are as far as in the holy day calendar, because we're used to using this Gregorian calendar, and that's how the days and the years are set up here. But we still need to know how to keep Yahweh's holy days and to know where we are in the true calendar, the calendar that's in the heavenly tablets. So we're going to go over that. The King James doesn't really give you all the information that you need because they purposely left things out. They purposely pulled books out. They purposely separated and decided that wasn't information that we needed so that they could give us calendars and tell us when we are supposed to do things. But when you look at all the ancient scriptures, especially, Jubilees and Enoch and Yashur and all the other books that were part of our culture that our ancestors had, you get exactly how to calculate these things, and all of them agree in telling you how to calculate these things. And none of them contradict Torah. None of them contradict what we have in the King James. It's just the King James doesn't give you all the information. So we're going to open up first in Jubilees. We're going to go into the Sefer writings. We're going to go to Jubilees chapter 2, and we're going to read 1 through 10, and we're going to see a second witness to what Genesis chapter 1 says about the sun and the moon and the stars being appointed. So if you do not have access to the Sefer writings or Jubilees, Enoch, things of those nature, or any of those books that we're going to go over, you can always go to our website and get it for free. You can either download it or you can watch it or read it online for free. You can go to Israelites, plural, with an S at the end, gathering.com, and go to books and Bibles, and you'll see all the books we'll ever read out, even books that are too deep for a lot of our own understanding at this point. But it's there for you to study on your own time to see what the Most High reveals unto you. So we're going to open up again in Jubilees chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 1 through 10. And Jubilees is referred to as like the little Genesis, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yobelum.
Jubilees, Yobelum, chapter 2 and verse 1. And the Malak of the presence spoke to Moshe according to the word of Yahweh, saying, write the complete history of the creation, how in 6 days Yahweh Almighty finished all his works and all that he created, and kept Shabbat on the 7th day, and hallowed it for all ages, and appointed it as a sign for all his works. For on the first day he created the heavens which are above the earth, and the waters and all the spirits which serve before him, the Malachim of the presence, and the Malachim of sanctification, and the Malachim of the spirit of fire, and the Malachim of the spirit of the winds, and the Malachim of the spirit of the clouds, and of darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoar frost, and of Malachim, and the Malachim of the voices, and of the thunder, and of lightning, and the Malachim of the spirits of cold and of heat, and of winter, and of spring, and of autumn, and of summer, and of all the spirits of his creatures which are in the heavens and on the earth he created, the abysses, and the darkness, eventide and night, and the light, dawn and day, which he has prepared in the knowledge of his heart.
All right, so when it's saying Malak is angel or Malachim is angels, so those are the messengers, the spirits that are responsible for these jobs.
And thereupon we saw his works and praised him and lauded before him on account of all his works. For 7 great works did he create on the first day. And on the second day he created the firmament in the midst of the waters. And the waters were divided on that day. Half of them went up above, and half of them went down below the firmament that was in the midst over the face of the whole earth. And this was the only work Yahweh created on the second day. And on the third day, he commanded that the waters pass from off the face of the whole earth into one place, and the dry land to appear. And the waters did so as he commanded them, and they retired from off the face of the earth into one place outside of this firmament, and the dry land appeared. And on that day he created for them all the seas according to their separate gathering places, and all the rivers, and the gatherings of the waters in the mountains, and on all the earth, and all the lakes, and all the dew of the earth, and the seed which is sown, and all sprouting things, and fruit-bearing trees, and trees of the wood, and the garden of Eden in Eden, and all these 4 great works Yahweh did on the third day.
So notice it says the garden of Eden in Eden and all. So it's letting you know the garden of Eden is the hedged place, the protected place within Eden. And then there's Eden. So that whole section is Eden, and then you have the garden inside of Eden. Torah sometimes doesn't really explain that, but some of these other writings will go in a little bit more detail. Go ahead.
Verse 8. And on the fourth day he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set them in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. And Yahweh appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Shabbats, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Shabbats of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the years.
All right, so verse 9, and Yahweh appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Shabbats, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Shabbats of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the year. So the sun alone isn't the only thing that helps to determine that, but that is the great sign. That is the greatest sign that we have. It's the brightest sign. It's the easiest to identify. It's when it's gone, there's no question. When it's there, there's no question. Now, the moon, the stars will move out during certain seasons. You're not going to see certain constellations and certain stars. The moon could be there in the daytime. It could be there in the nighttime. Some nights you don't see it at all. But that sun, 100% every time. During the daytime, you're going to see it. And during the nighttime, you're not going to see it. And even if it's covered up, you're still going to see remnants of the sun. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And it divides the light from the darkness, and for prosperity, that all things may prosper which shoot and grow out on the earth. These three kinds he made on the fourth day.
All right, so we know the sun, moon, and the stars were created and appointed on that fourth day. Let's go to Jubilees chapter 6. So we have to understand you have people that are trying to calculate all these things on the moon by itself. And that's against what we just read. The sun is the great sign. Now, again, that doesn't mean that we only use the sun. The moon has its purpose. The stars have its purpose, and they work together to be witnesses, to let us know for sure that things are the way they're supposed to be. If you remove those things, then you can be off on something, because that's why you have second witnesses, because there's other astronomical events that could change the way you're calculating things. But when they're all working together, they confirm that you are where you are in the year, or a season is starting, or a day is ending, or vice versa. So we're at Jubilees chapter 6, and we're going to read verses 13 through 38, and we're going to look at the holy calendar, how many days are in a year, the months, the weeks, things of that nature.
Jubilees, Yobelum, chapter 6. And we'll begin at verse 1.
13. We're going to go from 13 to verse 38.
And do you command the children of Yasharal to eat no blood, so that their names and their seed may be before Yahweh, our sovereign ruler, continually. And for this Torah there is no limit of days, for it is forever. And they shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar. Every day and at the time of morning and evening, they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yahweh, that they may keep it and not be rooted out. And he gave to Noah and his sons a sign that there should not again be a flood on the earth. He set his bow in the cloud for a sign of the eternal covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of the earth. For this reason it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. And
Go ahead, Elder.
Just on a side step a second, since my brother is reading, verse 16, talking about the going of cloud, that's the covenant between Yahweh and the children of Israel, that he will not destroy the world by flood again. It doesn't mean that people can take the rainbow, because what they speak of the bow is the rainbow, to use it any way they choose and make it relevant. There's people in this world that's using the rainbow as their banner for sexual immorality, and and people are not studying to understand the strength that Yahweh has given us as sign to let us know that how much He loves us, and He keeps His covenants, and it doesn't matter that you take something that Yahweh has already established and try to make it your own in another belief. It does not mean those things. And so, to me, and I believe to my other brothers also, they blaspheme Yahweh's beauty, they blaspheme Yahweh's covenants, His signs, and they call, how you say, bad is good and good is bad. So I want to bring that point out that Yahweh does things for a reason. And one other thing, people take peace symbols, wear around their neck and buy shirts for them, and started in the 60s, but they don't realize where they really come from. You got symbols of the same that's on Hitler's troops, and they carve them to their gravestones. They don't realize what these things mean. It means that they'll have peace when you're dead. And they're wearing peace symbols and don't realize that also it's a broken cross. So people need to really do research before they put a symbol upon their chest and call it something else and start worshiping, running around giving glory to something they should not give glory to.
Right. The rainbow was that symbol between Yah and the people of the earth, and the earth, that He would destroy the whole earth again by flood, by water. And then you take that and do one of the few things that, the Most High says you should die for doing that, but using the symbol that says I'm not going to kill everything. It's almost like outright rebellion, to take that sign that was biblical and decide to use it for something that is completely against what's the Most High has intended it for.
Verse 18.
And we're in Jubilees, Yobelum, chapter 6. In what verse?
Verse 18. And this whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation till the days of Noah, 26 jubilees and 5 weeks of years. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years, till the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it until the days of Abraham, and they eat blood.
Now, there's some kind of correlation between lawlessness and eating blood. For some reason, it always throws that in there, that once we stop keeping the commandments, all of a sudden we eat blood. Or we eat blood and then we stop keeping commandments and we're not keeping holy days. So there's some kind of relation in there. And we know blood carries the spirit, carries the spirit, the life of man. So when you're eating that blood, or you're eating food ingested with blood, you're carrying certain spirits in you, animalistic type spirits.
Contaminate yourself too.
Exactly.
Verse 19. But Abraham observed it, and Yitzchak and Jacob and his children observed it up to your days. And in your days the children of Yasharal forgot it until you celebrated it anew on this mountain. And do you command the children of Yasharal to observe this festival in all their generations for a commandment unto them? One day in the year, in this month, they shall celebrate the festival. For it is the feast of weeks and the feast of first fruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature. According to what is written and engraved concerning it, celebrate it. For I have written in the book of the first Torah, in that which I have written for you, that you should celebrate it in its season one day in the year. And I explained to you its sacrifices, that the children of Yasharal should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations in this month one day in every year. And on the new month of the first month, and on the new month of the 4th month, and on the new month of the 7th month, and on the new month of the 10th months are days of remembrance. And the days of the seasons are the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever.
And the days of remembrance are the changing of the season. If you look at the first month, that's the beginning of spring. You're looking at the 4th month, that's the beginning of summer. And then the beginning of the the 10th month, you got winter. And you have the 7th month, you have fall. Go ahead.
And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the new month of the 1st month, he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day, the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. And on the new month of the 4th month, the mouths of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the new month of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the new month of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. And on this account he ordained them for himself as feasts for a memorial forever, and thus are they ordained. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks. From one to another passed their memorial, and from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth.
So those are seasons, 13 weeks. Go ahead.
And all the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets.
All right, so Torah don't tell us how many weeks we have in a year. But Jubilees, Yobelum, tells us 52 weeks of days, just like Enoch tells us 52 weeks of days. So we know weeks of days is 7 days in a week. So you'd have 52 times 7. Go ahead.
Verse
31.
1. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year.
So don't change from year to year. Don't be like, okay, well, 3 years is this way, then on the 4th year it's this way or whatever. No, it's the same thing, year in and year out. Go ahead.
And command you, the children of Yasharal, that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast.
All right, so we have 52 weeks times 7 days. That gives you 364 days for a complete year. Not 365, not 354, not 383.5. 364 days. And if you use anything other than the sun to calculate this, if you use just the moon, you're going to get 354. Or you're going to get 383.5 or 384. That's either way, ridiculously way too short or ridiculously way too long. But when you use the sun along with the other witnesses in the heavenly tablets, the sun and the moon and the stars, you will get 364 days. Go ahead.
Verse 35. Oh, this is verse 33. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order. And they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Yasharal will forget, and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new months and seasons and Shabbats, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will declare it unto you, and it is not of my own devising. For the book is written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feasts of the covenant and walk according to the feasts of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance.
All right. So if we disturb this order, it's going to push off our holy days. It's going to push off our new months. It's going to push off everything, even calculating the years. And it's going to cause us to go after the way of the Goyim, of the Gentiles. The Gentiles have their stuff set up to worship their moon, to worship their sun, to worship the stars. So they have all their feasts set up in that manner, and they have their calendars set up in that manner. Whereas the Hebrews, we weren't given it that way. We were given the way it's done in heaven. Let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. And we were given specific instructions, a perfect order, how to follow it. But what happened is, again, we disturbed the seasons, we disturbed the dates, we started taking other calendars, and now we don't have a clue what year we're in. We're trying to go backwards and figure this out. Go ahead.
Verse 36. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon.
And that's the fallacy of the moon. The moon, I don't care when you start it, it's going to always be at least 10 days too early. So you're going to get 354 days, period. The moon has a 29 and a half day average. So you multiply that times 10, you're going to get 354 days. So when you get this 354 days, it's going to consistently be 10 days too soon. That's like if your clock has to go 360 degrees and it stops 10 degrees too early every time, then it's starting up a new year, but the year hasn't ended. So you're just constantly getting pushed further and further and further and further back because you're starting wrong. And if you go too far, then you're starting further and further and further and further this way. So either way, it's going to be off. And this is why you can't use the moon. And when you look in Torah's got perfect witnesses. You look at the words they have for new month, Hodesh, and the words they have for moon, Yeriach. Completely different words. In the Greek, same thing. Numenea. And Selene, new month, Numenea. Naos was the root word. Numenea. New month. And then they have a completely different word for moon, Selene. Or Selenus, one of those words or whatever. Completely different. So in every other language, it's obvious that it's different. But then when they get in English, they said, nah, we're going to make moon and month the same. To push the doctrine, to get people to confuse, to believe that. And you have people that are following the new moon. And you can't blame them because the translation says new moon. But when you go ahead and look at the Hebrew words and break down the roots of the words, you can see clearly it's not saying new month, new moon. It's saying new month. For they use a different word when they're talking about the moon. They use Yeriach. Finish that up, Art.
Verse 37. For this reason the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the Kodesh with the unclean, and the unclean with the Kodesh, for they will go wrong as to the months and Shabbats and feasts and jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to you, that you may testify to them. For after your death your children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason, they will go wrong as to the new months and seasons and Shabbats and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh.
And that's exactly what happened. We eating all kinds of blood and all kinds of weird flesh and octopus and pigs and clams and all kind of weird stuff that our forefathers didn't deal with, and eating blood. Literally, you see them when they have the meat. Anytime they show a picture of some steak or whatever, it's bloody. And that's supposed to be the thing, like, oh, that's the good. It ain't a good steak unless it's bleeding. Mm-hmm. Well, I guarantee any of those people that are eating those steaks ain't keeping these commandments. They're not keeping holy days. They're not keeping Shabbats. They eating whatever they want to eat, and it's all interrelated. So you have a clear understanding of a perfect calendar, 364 days divided into 12 months, with 3 months giving you a season, giving you 52 weeks. Giving you 7 days a week. The math is perfect. It all works in perfect. This was the ancient way of doing things. Now you have a leap year and you got this and you got that and you don't know where you're at. And you got daylight savings. So you got all kind of things to cause confusion. When you had a simple calendar that you were able to look up in the sky at the heavenly tablets and look at the moon, the sun, and the stars and be able to calculate exactly where you are in a month, what time it is, and what season it is. Now, for this class, for time's sake, we're not going to go into how to calculate the days and all that. But what we're going to do is use the pattern that we were given. The pattern that we were given in Enoch is the beginning, the first month, you got 30 days. The second month of the season, you got 30 days. The last month, you got 31 days in the season, because it takes an extra day for the sun to change gates, to go into the next season. So then you have 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, until you get 364 days. So it follows an exact pattern, 30, 30, 31. So we're going to use that exact pattern, and we're going to use the equilux as the last day, which you got to go into Enoch chapter 72 or 71, depending on what Sefer book you have. and you got to find out when is the last day of the year. The last day of the year is when you're in the winter time and you're leaving winter, it's moving towards spring, and the day is starting to get longer. It gets to the point where the day is equal day and equal night. You have an equal amount of daytime and an equal amount of night. That is your last day of the year. And then the next day is called spring because the day is springing forward. The day is growing. So that's how you know when you are having the first day of the year. You have a lot of people that are using so-called equinox, saying that, oh, that's equal day and equal night because you got a shadow across the equator. That's not equal day and equal night. All that is a fixed point in time on the equator where you have a shadow evenly across the equator. And that all has to do with sun worship. That's clearly not equal day and equal night. For before that, about 3 or 4 days before that, you have equal day and equal night. So that doesn't meet what's in the ancient scriptures. But you have a lot of people that are building pyramids and doing all types of things to show that point. So let's get into Torah. Let's go to Leviticus 23. So with that understanding, we know that we can pick up where we left off. We had new month. So if you count 30 days from that, that will bring you to January 10th, which would mean the new month would be January 11th. So we're starting with 2018. So you want to get a 2018 calendar. And that's the first thing that we're going to do before we get in Leviticus. And we're going to calculate all the new months. That's why we keep new months, not new moon, because a moon ain't going to necessarily tell you by itself where you are. But we keep new month so that we can keep a track of what month we're in, so that we know, okay, first month, Rosh Hashanah. We know in that first month we're going to have Passover. So we need to know when the first month is. So we're going to pick up, if you don't have our calendar, then you can go again to Israelites Gathering, go to Holy Days, and you can see the new months of 2017. So we had the last new month of 2017. The next new month is going to be in the Babylon 2018. So that first day is going to be January the 11th. So we just started winter, first month of winter. So that means that we have 30 days. And then the 11th month will have 30 days. And then the 12th month will have 31 days, because that is a changing of a season. So if we start with your 2018 calendar, if you got one, make sure you got one. And start at January 11th. And just for to keep everybody on the same thing, draw a triangle around January 11th. The triangle is going to be our symbol for new month. So that is the beginning of your 11th month. So January 11th, the 11th month is going to have how many days, Jonathan?
That's the 11th month is going to have 30 days.
Exactly. We don't have 31 days until we get to the 12th month. So if we go to January 11th, we're going to count 30 days, with January 11th being the first day of the month. Because remember, new month is literally the first day of the month. It's just the night of January 11th, because our days start in night according to Genesis. So January 11th would be number 1. January 12th would be number 2. And let's count all the way until we get to the 30th day. That will be the last day of the month. And then the next day is going to be the new month. You'll draw a triangle. So we count that out. Let's count it out together and let's see where we end up. All right. So what date did you come up with?
I have February 10th.
Exactly. February 10th is going to be the beginning of the 12th month. So that means January 11th we'll have our new month, which starts the 11th month. And then February 10th we'll have our new month again, which is going to be the beginning of the 12th month, will be the beginning of the last month of the season of winter. All right, so you draw a triangle around the 10, and that's the 12th month begins that day. So you're going to start with that day, the 10th, because that is the new month. That's the first day That nighttime of that day will be your first day of the 12th month. And now you're going to count 31 days. Because remember, there's the pattern. It's 30 of the first month of the season, 30 of the second month of the season, 31 of the last month of the season. So let's count 31 days from that. And when you get to the 31st day, the next day after that at nighttime will begin your new year, Rosh Hashanah. Okay, February 10th, you're going to draw a triangle around that. That is going to be the beginning of your 12th month. And the 12th month is the last month of the season, the last month of the holy year. So you Yahweh's calendar. So that is going to have 31 days in that month. Every last month of a season, you're going to have 31 days. All right, so if you count from February 10th, count 31 days. After you count the 31st day, the next day over is going to be your Rosh Hashanah, the head of your year, beginning of the first month. All right, anybody else want to tell me what date you came up with?
Is it 13 to 31 day?
Yes. 13th is not the 31st day. 13th is the first day.
It's the first day.
Right. Remember, you count 31 days. You got to always remember, and there's different ways to do it, but just do it the same way every time so you have consistency. So the 31st day would give you March 12th. That means the next day after that is going to be your new month. So the 13th, go ahead and make a square around that. That is a holy day. That is Rosh Hashanah. That is head of the year. We are to observe the month Abib. So the month Abib, which is the first month of the holy year, is March 13th. Not in the 7th month, like the Jewish people do. That doesn't make any sense. How are you going to have atonement, which clearly tells you it's the 7th month, on the same month as the first month of the year? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So the 13th, draw a square around that. That is your Rosh Hashanah. The 13th, which is always going to be a fourth day. The fourth day is always going to be the beginning of your year. Now, keep in mind, our calendar starts at night. Our day starts at night. So Tuesday at night is really beginning Wednesday. So the 13th, that is Rosh Hashanah at night. So when you go, the calendar day turns to the 13th, and then you go all the way during the daytime. Then you go all the way until it's beginning night again. When it becomes night on the calendar of the 13th day, that is going to be your Rosh Hashanah, the night, Tuesday the 13th at night. So that's your Rosh Hashanah. So that is your first month of the year. So the first month of the year is going to have how many days, everybody?
30.
30 days. The only month that has 31 days is the last month of a season. So we're going to get all the new months so that once we have all the new months, now we can calculate the holy days. So from the 13th, how many days are we counting?
30.
Right, with the 13th being day 1. So count 30 days with the 13th of March being day 1.
Is the last day.
The 11th is the last day. So that's 30. So remember, you count 30 days. That is the last day of the month. That means the next day is going to be the beginning of the new month. So the 12th, April 12th, draw a triangle around April 12th. That is the beginning of your second month. That is the Rosh Hashanah of the second month. All right, so from that day where you put a triangle, 12th, that is day 1 of the second month. So with the 12th being 1, you have to now count how many days?
Another 30.
30 days. So with the 12th being 1, the 13th being 2, continue counting until you get to 30 days. Once you get to the 30 days, the next day is going to be your new month of the third month. Let's count that out again.
So the 12th day is the first day.
The 12th of April is new month. So that is the first day. If it's new month, that means it's the first day of the month.
So that's the square on that.
That's a triangle.
Okay.
So you count 30 days of the second month. After you count 30 days, the day after that is going to be your new month of the third month. Anybody want to tell me the date they came up with?
May 12th.
That's right.
May 12th.
That's right. The 12th. Put a triangle around the 12th. That is the beginning of your third month. Because that is the end of spring. Spring ended on the 11th of May. On the 12th, you have the beginning of summer. So now that you're beginning a season again, how many days is going to be in that third month?
31.
All right. Go ahead. All right, so we had the sister said it, June 12th. Draw a triangle around that. That is the beginning of the fourth month. So the 11th is going to be the last day of your spring. Now your summer is starting. So June 12th, put a triangle around that. That is the first day of the fourth month, which is now the summer. All right, so the first day of summer, how many days are you going to have on that fourth month?
30.
Exactly, 30. It's a very simple pattern. 30, 30, 31. 30, 30, 31. How do you know when you're going to have 31? The changing of a season. The last month of a season.
This is 11.
Okay, so what is the new month of July?
Is it 12?
Exactly. 30 days from the 12th of June is going to give you July 11th. That means the next day is going to be new month, July 12th. So draw your triangle around July 12th. That is the beginning of your fifth month. And we have to be able to do this on our own because we don't know, especially with this net neutrality, man, they could cut all this stuff. They could shut us down at any moment. And you don't want to just be constantly trusting and asking, well, what day is the holy day? What is this? Because you don't know, people are subject to anything. For all you know, somebody can go turn around and go worship some other God as soon as the next day. They get caught by some spirit or somebody give them some story and all of a sudden they worshiping that, or they get into some Jewish book and all of a sudden they doing Talmud or whatever. You don't want to depend on that. You want to learn how to do it yourself so that you can make sure that you're doing it right. And sometimes the leadership may be doing it the right way, but they made a clerical mistake. I've done that before certain years. I think it was last year. I did it, and one of the sisters had to say, hey, whoa, something's off here. I had a day wrong. I had like a Thursday instead of a Tuesday. The calendar date was right, but the day of the week was wrong. That wasn't intentional. It was a clerical error. It was from using the calendar from before and trying to change it up. So if the sister didn't say something, I might not have noticed it. And it would have caused confusion because people trying to take off from work and they're like, I got to take a Tuesday off. But then you're trying to take off a specific day. And it's like, oh, it's not adding up. It's not matching up. So you want to learn it yourself. It's not that complicated. Once you know when your new year starts, that's a whole nother class that we'd have to get into of how to know when a month starts by using the heavenly tablets. That's a whole nother class. But we're going to use this system here so that you can understand when you get your day one, your starting point, just like anything. You got to know your starting point. with anything, to be able to calculate something. Or an ending point, starting or ending, one of them. You got to know something. All right, so July 12th begins the 5th month. How many days are we going to have in the 5th month?
30.
30 days. So count 30 days with the 12th being day 1. And where are we going to get for new month?
August 11th.
August 11th. Exactly. Draw a triangle around August 11th. That is going to be the beginning of your 6th month, which is going to be a changing of a season. Changing of a season means we getting ready to go into fall with this month. After this month is over with, we going into fall. So how many days are going to be in the 6th month?
31.
31. Because it's changing of a season. So that means in August 11th, with August 11th being day 1, we need to count 31 days with August 11th being 1, August 12th being 2, August 13th being 3, so forth and so on till you count 31 days. And this is important, especially this one, because the next month, the first day, you got a holy day. So you got to calculate this properly.
So you're looking at 31 days, 10th, but the first day would be 11th, right?
Right. September 11th. 9/11. According to their Babylon calendar. Now we know it's not 9/11 because it's 7/1. It means nothing to us. It's the 7th day, first day of the 7th month. Yom Teruah. Trumpets. So draw your triangle around the 11th. And also around the 11th, go ahead and draw a circle. Well, actually, don't draw that yet. Just draw the triangle for now.
The holy days, you draw a square.
No, just draw a triangle for now. We haven't gone through the holy days. We'll go through that in a minute. So triangles are letting you know where your new months are. Now, however you want to do it on your own calendar, you want to draw a square, you want to draw a star, you want to put a half smiley face, whatever you want to do. Just be consistent so you know what you're looking at on your calendar. So the 7th month is the beginning of the fall. So with the beginning of the fall, how many days are you going to have?
30.
Exactly. So you're going to count from the 11th of September, with the 11th being day 1, understanding that all days start at night. So that means Tuesday, the 11th of September at night is your new month. Starting with September 11th being 1, count 30 days. After you count 30 days, the next day is going to be your new month. Count that out and see where we come to. All right, somebody new? Anybody? What date do we have in October to be the new month?
11th.
October 11th is going to be the beginning of your 8th month. So draw a triangle around October 11th. And you know, the more you do this, we've been doing this for several years, so we kind of flying through it. But the more you do this, you get used to doing it. Just like how it used to throw us off, you know, knowing what day of the week was. You know, what is it's 3rd day, it's 4th day. You know, we thinking 3rd day, we thinking Wednesday. You know, but then no, we off. 3rd day is Tuesday. Because Sunday is the first day of the week. So at first, you know, it throws you off a little bit. But then eventually when you reprogram your brain to do things how it was prior to them giving pagan names to the days of the week, you know, we had all these things in place. So it just takes a little bit of practice. Don't be discouraged if you're not moving as fast. If you know, if you're getting a little confused. The key is don't give up. Go back, look at the class, take your notes, print out another calendar and practice it so that you can get this, so that you can know with confidence that this is how the year is calculated. And if at your level of understanding, you have come up with a different first day of the year for whatever reason, you know, nobody's 100% sure. At least you know how to calculate the months. If you start, you know, some people like to use equinox. If they, you know, their level of understanding and their study brings them to the equinox, and that's the start date, they're still going to be following this same pattern of 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31 to get a year. All right, so we were October 11th. How many days are going to be in the 8th month?
30.
30 days in the 8th month. All right, so count your 30 days. Because remember, fall started on the 7th month.
The 8th month is the 11th, right?
You said what? The 8th month is the 11th of October.
Yeah.
That being the first month, you're going to count 30 days to start the 9th month.
Okay. All right, good.
All right, somebody new? Anybody? What date do we have in November as Rosh Hodesh for the 9th month?
Is it the 10th?
Correct. November 10th. November 10th. That, draw a triangle around November 10th. That is going to be the new month, the Rosh Hodesh of the 9th month, which is also going to be a changing of a season that month. So that month is going to have how many days?
31.
31, exactly. The last day of the season is going to be the 31st day of a month. It's going to be 31 days in the last month of a season. So you're going to count 31 days with November the 10th, Saturday, November the 10th, being the first day of the 9th month. All right. So what is our new month in December?
The 11th.
Exactly. The 11th. And that will conclude 2018. You draw the triangle around 11th. That is the beginning of your 10th month. You're going to be going into 2019 now before you get into your 11th month. So you have all your new months now for 2018. You have all those days that we're commanded to gather on those days to read out this law book and to practice coming together on his appointed days. So you need all your new months to be able to calculate your holy days, because you got to know what month you're in to figure out what day of the month is the holy day. All right, so with your calendars of having all your months, if you look at last year's calendar and you look at the days that we had holy days, if your calendar is truly 364 days, 52 weeks of 7 days divided in 12 months, every single new month is going to start on the same number day of the week. So if your new month in the 7th month starts on a Tuesday, the next year and every year after that, the 7th month is going to start on a Tuesday, because it's perfect. It's 364, 7 days a week. It's never changing. Also, if your holy day falls on a specific day of the week, it's always going to fall on that specific day of the week every year. Now, the Babylon number day of the week, like it might be last year was November 12th. It might be November 11th the next year, because they're using 365 and sometimes 366. So it's going to change. That's for confusion. It's going to confuse you. But the key is it's always going to be on the same day of the week. If it starts on a Tuesday, it's going to be a Tuesday the next year. If your Rosh Hashanah was a Tuesday night, every year is going to be Tuesday night, period. All right, now we can get in Torah and we can use these months, the new months, to now figure out and calculate according to Scripture the holy days. So we go to Leviticus chapter 23, And it's also in Deuteronomy, but I like to use Leviticus because it's all mapped out right there for you. So we're going to Leviticus Wayakra, chapter 23, and we're going to start this at verse 1. And again, if you have any questions, email us at info@israelitegathering.com, or hit us on Facebook, or if you know some of us individually, we're friends with a lot of people on Facebook. Just question, ask us. Even if you disagree, we here. We didn't always come to agreements on calendars. We were doing new moon like everybody else, following the Jewish doctrine, until somebody challenged us and said, hey, wait a minute, this is not right. Here's the proof. And once they proved that without a doubt, you cannot use the moon by itself with 354 days and 12 lunations, we understood that what we were doing was wrong. So we're humble enough to know that, man, we had our identity stripped from us. We were in captivity. We're trying to regain back our identity and learn these things. So the only way we're going to learn these things is not falling up under one man and said, he's going to teach us everything, but coming together collectively as a nation and trying and proving all things together and examining information and using each other's gifts to make sure we coming up with the best possible information that we have. And that can only happen with exchange of information. We're humble enough to do that. A lot of assemblies won't do that. They want you their way or the highway. They don't want to be proven wrong. We want to be proven wrong if we're wrong, because we want to be right. We want to be righteous. And to be righteous, we got to do the right thing. And that's going to mean being embarrassed sometimes when you ain't do something right. But guess what? At the end of the day, the embarrassment wipe off. And from that point forward, you can prove what you're doing is right. Leviticus, Wayakra, chapter 23, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocation, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover.
All right, before we get into that, notice the first thing he do is come out and say, these are my days. I don't care about the heathen or the goyim or whatever they doing. These are my days. The creator of all, architect of everything said, these are the days. These are my days. And then the first thing he hollows, Shabbat. 6 days you work, 7th day you rest. So if you're not keeping the Sabbath day, you're not keeping a new month, and you ain't keeping a holy day. I'm sorry. You can't. Because you ain't had no peace. You're in transgression. You got to get yourself together before you can do that. Now, while we're in captivity, you do the best you can. And that's why we're in the grace period. Some of us are not fortunate enough to have the day off, and we're forced to work. And Yah knows the difference between somebody who's forced to work and are trying to work towards repentance than somebody else that's working because Saturday is the biggest day of their career, of their type of employment, and they don't want to lose out on money. There's a difference between those two people and a guy who has to work to feed his family. So he makes sure, as you know, before we even get into my holy days, understand this Shabbat. And we have people still confused about the Shabbat. They still chasing Shabbats and looking at moon to give them Shabbat and all that. When at the end of the day, it's the same constant order, 7 days. 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. The problem is sometimes we can be so smart that we stupid. We study this word so much that the plain and simplicity of equal mathematics is not good enough. It got to be more difficult. So we trying to find some other way to make a name for ourselves, to the point where we chasing the Sabbath. We trying to figure out, one year it's on Tuesday, the next year it's on this other thing. So verse 5, it says, in the 14th day of the first month, in between even, is Yahweh's Passover. The 14th day of the first month. So we know Abib, 14th day. So we go back to our 2018 calendar. What was Rosh Hashanah? What was the first day of the month? March 13th. Babylon, March 13th is Rosh Hashanah. So we're going to count with the 13th being the first day to the 14th day. And when you get to that 14th day, we're going to put a circle around that. That is going to be Pesach. That's going to be Passover. And keep in mind, all days begin at night. So whatever day you get to, the night of that day is going to be the holy day. So if we count 14 days, what Babylon day in March are we going to arrive at?
26.
That's right. The 26th. So the 26th of March, go ahead and circle that day. That is Yahweh's Passover, Pesach. So the 26th is the 14th day of Abib, the 14th day of the first month. All we're going to do is just follow this map. It's clearly written out. Sometimes, some of us came from other assemblies and were part of camps, and we were taught Jewish ways of doing things, and we had to unlearn that, and it caused a lot of confusion because we were just taught, it's this way. Well, does it say that? No, it doesn't, but it's just that way. You got some folk telling you, well, you're always going to have a full moon. That's how you're going to know it's Pesach, because you have a full moon. That doesn't make any sense. If there's 354 days in a year and it's 10 days too short, how are you going to have a full moon every Passover? It won't add up. And furthermore, if you want more proof, go to the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls has the lunar calendar, and it shows you every year where that moon is going to be on the specific days of the year, and the moon changes because it's not perfect like the 364 days. It's too short. And then what you do is you have man doing what man does. Man wants the things to fit the way he wants to fit. So what do? He makes something up. Something that's not in scripture. Just make it up. Now they got something called the Adar 2. Where sometimes because you so far behind following 354 days that they got to add a whole new moon in there just so that they can try to be close to the seasons. Now you got an Adar 2. You didn't have an Adar 1. Adar 1 ain't even in here. Y'all never gave us the name of a month. He sanctified months, just like he sanctified certain days. He sanctified the Shabbat and gave it a name, Sabbath day. He sanctified the first month of the year, Abib. And he said, observe the Kodesh of Abib, the first month of the year. He didn't give no other names. But what man do? Man come in here and give names. Pagan names on top of that. You got one named Tammuz or something like that?
Yeah, Tammuz.
A bull? You got another one, Baal? I mean, it's ridiculous. And you don't see any of these names until after we went in captivity. Before captivity, you don't see any of those names other than names Yah gave. Go ahead, verse 6.
And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. In the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. But you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
All right, so it told you that on the 15th day of the same month, 15th day of Abib, the first month, that is your matzah, your unleavened bread. And then that lasts for 7 days, with the first day of unleavened bread being a Shabbaton, which is a holy day, where we treat it as a Sabbath, even though it's not a Sabbath, but it gets treated as a Sabbath. And then on the 7th day also is a Shabbaton, which is a day of rest, where we treat it like a Sabbath, even though it's not on the 7th day of the week. So if we go back to our calendar, we know Pesach was the 26th, which is the 14th. So the 15th would be what day?
27.
The 27th. So go ahead and circle that one. The 27th is unleavened bread, matzah, day 1. So with the 27th being day 1, count that as 1 and count 7 days. 27th being day 1, 28th being day 2. Where's your 7th day?
2.
April 2nd.
Yes.
Go ahead and circle April 2nd. That is unleavened bread day 7. That is also a Sabbathon, treated as a Sabbath, where we are not permitted to work. So April 2nd is unleavened bread, Hag Matzah, day 2. Excuse me, day 7. It's on the 2nd of April. So unleavened bread, day 7 is going to be April 2nd, which is that Monday night. All right. Pick back up at verse 9. And again, if we're going a little bit fast, it's okay. That's why we record these things. The video is going to be available on YouTube. It's going to be on Facebook. The audio is going to be available. Everything is here so that you can go back in your own time and go over it at your own pace. Or maybe if you don't have a calendar now and you're just listening, you can go get a calendar, print one out, get it, or use your phone, whatever, do something and practice it and go over it. And if we made a mistake, it's recorded. It's on tape. So you can go over it and you can say, hey, look, y'all made a mistake. And come help us and tell us, look, y'all calculated something wrong. Before we start putting out these calendars for 2018 and folks start taking off days from work. This is why we put this stuff out here. This is why we record it. We don't just give out a calendar and say these are the holy days. That's what most camps do. They just say, here's the holy days. Well, how do we know that's right? We got people that do this. Oh, really? All right. Go ahead, verse 9.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them, When you be come into the land which I give you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the firstfruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it.
All right. So this is first fruits, Bikurim, Hag Bikurim. This is going to be on the morrow after the Sabbath. Now, which Sabbath are we talking about here? Well, you look here in verse 9 when it says, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, it's letting you know completely different point that they're on now. We just finished up 7 days of unleavened bread. So after your 7 days of unleavened bread, which will give you Monday the 2nd, you have the Sabbath day, not Sabbathon. You got to see, if you had Hebrew, it would be a lot more clear because it distinguishes the difference between Sabbath, which is the 7th day of the week, and Sabbathon, which is like a holiday, a holy day, a day of rest. So once you get to the 7th day of your week, so this is the Shabbat that comes right after unleavened bread. That is the Sabbath. The morrow after that will be your feast of first fruits. So when does the morrow after that Sabbath begin? When does the first day begin?
April 8th.
April 8th is the daytime portion. But when does our day start?
At night.
So what day are you circling?
You circle
The 7th.
Saturday at night.
Exactly. Because remember, Saturday night is not the Shabbat no more. That's why we go and party. We have fun. Because even though Babylon says it's Saturday, we know our day starts at night. So we partying. And we know Friday night, even though it says Friday, 6th day of the week or whatever, we don't go out. Because we know at night begins the 7th day, the Shabbat. So you have to keep all those consistencies. And if you want to use the day and say, well, Sunday, because it's going to be a first day of the week, you can circle those days as well. But just know it starts the night before. However you want to do it, as long as you have consistency. I'm showing you the way that I do it. I don't want to do it any other way because it causes confusion to me. But if you did it the other way, and that's how you do it, you're not wrong.
It might be best to say, to get the understanding, Shabbat at night with the Sunday, with the first day.
Right. We know that first day is Sunday. We know Sunday starts Saturday night. All right, so you're going to circle Saturday, April 7th. That is your first fruits, your Hag B'Korim. Now, that's not a Sabbathon. You don't have to take off work for that.
Are there any questions in the congregation up to now? Everybody good?
This for
Good.
All right. So again, don't feel bad if you feel like this is a little confusing or it's fast or whatever. We are having to reprogram our minds to do things the way the ancients did it. You know, we are so used to looking at certain things. We get paid a certain way, and we plan a certain way. But this is all part of your regeneration, becoming born again, learning a new way of doing things. All right. So go ahead and continue, brother.
All right. Verse 11. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. Verse 12. And you shall offer that day, when you wave the sheaf, an he lamb without blemish of the first year, for a burnt offering unto Yahweh. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. And you shall eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green ears until the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
So you can't eat it at harvest until you make your first fruit offering. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall you number 50 days, and you shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh.
All right. So this is Pentecost, Feast of Weeks, Shavuot or Shabbat. So from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheep offering. So that's first fruits. So from first fruits, you're going to count 7 Sabbaths. So if you go to your calendar, you count 7 Sabbaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7th Sabbath, that is going to be your Pentecost. So you don't count first fruits. You count from first fruits. 7 Sabbaths after that.
so that'll be 26 May.
Exactly. The 26th of May is going to be your Shabbat.
Circle that.
Right. So you're going to circle the 26th. Saturday the 26th at night will begin your feast of your feast of weeks. Your Shabuah. And another way, for another witness for that, is when you go into Jubilees and it talks about when Abraham kept his first fruits. It said the middle of the 3rd month. So if you count from there, from the beginning of the 3rd month, you count 15 days. There you go. You right there. You the same day. Start from the 13th. The 12th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Perfect. You got your 2 witnesses. You got Abraham doing it before we were even given the commandment. So he was getting instruction from somebody to do it. Keeping first fruits. You count from that new month of the 3rd month, 15 days. There it is. You will have your feast of first fruits. The middle of the 3rd month. Perfect. And that is a Sabbathon. Go ahead and continue reading.
All right. Verse 17. You shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto Yahweh. And you shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yahweh, with their meat offering and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yahweh. Then you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahweh. With the 2 lambs, they shall be holy unto Yahweh for the priest. And you shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be a holy convocation unto you. You shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in your dwellings throughout your generations. And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not make clean riddance of the corners of your field when you reap, neither shall you gather any gleaning of your harvest. You shall leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yahweh your Elohim.
All right. So in addition to making your offering of first fruits unto Yahweh, and when you gather in all your stuff because you're going to give them the best of what you have, it still don't all belong to you. In addition to your offering, you still got to leave something for the poor and the strangers. So we have to wrap our minds around the concept that everything we have don't belong to us. Just because we were given $1,000, $1,000 don't belong to you. 10% off rip already belonged to Yah. That was before we even made a covenant. That's what Jacob said point blank, if you give me raiment and food to eat and give me a home and a roof over my head and all that, then I will give you 10th of all my increase. So that just the fact that we Israelites, we Jacobites, just for the fact that we come from that and that's our bloodline, we already owe a 10th to Yah. Then you got your tithing, which was on the every third year is a tithing. You got that you're supposed to give away, which is, your produce or whatever. Then you got your holy days. You got all those things. And when you're reaping everything that you have and you're giving what you have, you're still supposed to have a portion left over for when you come around strangers or poor people. And when you do that, you will be blessed in your life. You will never be hungry. You'll never be begging for bread. It says in all my days, I've never seen the righteous beg for bread or the son of the righteous beg for bread. So we got to get wrapped around that everything we have don't belong to us. So if we got $10, don't spend your last dollar. Keep it. It should be here. You have something, Elder?
Yeah, I know we're going to get into calendar. Can you touch just briefly just on, since we don't have no farms, we're not raising cattle, fruit and wheat and all that type of things, can you briefly go into what we're supposed to give of ourselves on that time?
Okay. Again, the offerings that we did back in those days when we were given land, and just like anybody else, if somebody gives you land and say, hey, you can stay here, take care of it, but you're going to have to give me a portion of that. You're going to have to give me something back. I'm giving it to you. You didn't pay for it. I'm letting you work it, so you're going to have to give me my portion. So what we did, all the tribes received land except for the Levites. The Levites didn't get their inheritance. Their inheritance was in each city. They had a little section separate for them to do the works of the Most High. So what we did when we got this free land that we didn't work for, that somebody else was there, we got the free land and we worked the land and we did our husbandry, and Yah gave us the increase. And when the produce and everything grew and the livestock, then we would offer our offering unto the Levites because they didn't get land for that. They didn't have land. They were just there to do the service of the Most High. So they didn't have these big forests and agriculture and livestock and all that. They had to do the service of the Most High. So we gave it to them and they took Yahweh's portion in addition to what they burnt for burnt offerings or so forth and so on. And they had more than enough. So they would in turn take what they had left over, what they were supposed to do, and feed the poor, the widows, and the homeless. So and the fatherless. So that's what they did. So fast forward to now. Now many of us don't have livestock and gardens and things of that nature. So we still have to make an offering. That offering is when you keep a portion of your money that you give to the poor, you give to your brother as they need. That's part of your offering. But when you also offering to the Most High, you have to give yourself. That's the best that you have to offer. The best you can offer is say, look, I can be doing all these things, but I'm not. I'm offering myself to be like Isaiah chapter 42, a witness, a servant, all that. You offering yourself. And if you are part of an assembly and all of you are sharing the burden, it says share one another's burden, then you take that opportunity to give money to whoever is over your assembly to take care of your assembly. If he needs it. If he don't need it, then you don't need to give it to him. Turn around and give it to the poor people. If he's working, then he can take care of he can take care of himself like everybody else. But if he's not working and his full-time job is to take care of the assembly, then the only way he gonna eat is if we all come together and give him some money. But not like what you have nowadays, where we giving money to these pastors that are living in mansions and flying helicopters when you got poor people in the same assembly. Or family members of people in the assembly that ain't got food, can't afford school. That's wickedness.
That's what I'm talking about.
You don't do that.
That's right.
And this is why we don't ask. I got a job. I make money. The Most High helped me take care of my family. So I don't ask nobody for nothing. But if I was not working and I didn't have a job and we were all dependent on each other, then we'd have to depend on each other. And that's what you do. So do it appropriately. Now, if you want to donate money to help further the ministry, to buy equipment and take care of situations and stuff like that, that's great. May y'all add an increase to you. But you don't have to do that. That's not what that's for. All right. Go ahead, brother.
Leviticus chapter 23, Wayakra chapter 23, and we're at verse 23. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, you shall have a Sabbath.
A Shabbaton. Go
A
ahead.
memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
All right. So this is the easiest holy day to find. All you need to know is the 7th new month. There it is. Teruah. So you can go right back to your calendar, look for the 7th month when it starts. There should be a triangle there. Draw a circle around that. That is Yom Teruah. That is trumpets. Feast of trumpets. That is the beginning of your 7th month. So that is a high Sabbathon. That's like a high Sabbath because you got a holy day, you got a new month, and you got a Sabbathon. So you got a Moadim, you got a Rosh Hashanah, and you have a holy day, all on the same day.
So the high holy day.
Mm-hmm. It's like a high Sabbath because you got all these different things on one. You got a new month, Rosh Hashanah. You got a Sabbathon where you're supposed to rest, and then you also have Moadim. It's a holy day. It's a appointed day. So you got 3 things falling in the beginning of the 7th month, and that's no coincidence that you have that. That's the only holy day like that. All 3 of those things, all falling on one day, heading out the holiest month of the year. It's the holiest month of the year because you have all these holy days in that month. I think you have the most holy days in that month.
You got 3.
You got 4 actually, because you got you got trumpets. Then you got atonement. That's 2, and then you got the 2 in tabernacles. So you got a lot in that day, in that 1 month.
New month, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's 3 per se.
Yeah.
But it's 4 set apart days. So you got that, and it's the holiest month of the year because you have atonement. Atonement is the holiest day of the year. All right, go ahead and continue, brother.
Verse 26. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. And you shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your Elohim. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. And the 9th day of the month at even, from even to even, shall you celebrate your Shabbat.
All right, so the 9th day at even, from even to even. So it's letting you know it's from even to even, and it's on the 10th day. We know the 9th day at even begins the 10th day. And it's from even to even, so it's a full day. So it is 1 day of atonement. So that alone right there busts up the whole, your day starts in the daytime portion. Because if your day started in the daytime, then you go and you start in your holy day at even to even, you crossing over into 2 days. Then it's days of atonement. That don't add up. So that busts up that whole daytime doctrine. You have to literally throw out Day of Atonement, which some people do, in order to push forth your day starts in the daytime portion. There's no other way you can get that. You got to just completely get rid of the holy day.
So atonement
Atonement is going to start on the 20th. It starts on the 20th. The 9th at even is just the beginning of the 10th day. So it's just letting you know it's a full day, not no half day fast or anything like that. Not no just fast during the daytime portion or nothing, or just fast during the nighttime portion. It's saying from even to even to let you know it's one full day.
Right. So basically, you started at night and ended
The 20th, yeah, the 20th, right. You start the 20th at nighttime, and it goes all the way until the 21st till night, when night starts. So it's one full day. And now, I don't know, for whatever reason, it took me like 2 years to understand that. That night that even just would, my brain would just, would fry. I couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it. I don't know, it's so simple now, but I just, for whatever reason, it just could, ninth that even was just throwing me off. I'm thinking like the 9th when it starts the 9th day. But then I'm like, wait a minute, but it's not the 10th. It was just confusing, but it's just very simple. The 9th at even is just the beginning of the 10th, because when does our day start? In even.
So this is talking about the 20th to the 21st.
Right, the 20th, starting the 20th, and the daytime of the 21st would be the day that you would be off from work. Or if you work at night, the 20th starting that night. So that's the 10th day. Circle the 20th. That night will begin your fast for atonement, Kippur. And that is the holiest day of the year. That's the only Sabbath day that we're allowed to fast. We are not, according to Jubilees, allowed to fast on the Shabbat. And technically, it doesn't really break that rule because it's really not a Shabbat. It's a Sabbathon. So you're really not breaking, you're not really fasting on the 7th day of the week. So it's really not that different. But it's the only day of his holy days where he's saying, Anah, afflict yourself. Soon, cover your mouth. Every other day, enjoy, party. Yahweh says party, 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 party on his holy days. This is the only one he said, no. We're not partying this day. This day, you're going to sit here and you're going to reconcile your sin. And you're going to look at how ugly your image really is. And you're going to make some serious decisions of what you're going to do going forward from this point of cleaning yourself up. Because if you can't be honest with the Most High, that ain't going to physically talk back to you, then how you going to be honest with anybody else in the street that can call you a liar and talk to you? All right, so we circled that 20th. That is Kippur. Going to the next one.
Verse 33. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
All right, so what day is the first day? What number day, as far as 14, 15, 16, whatever? What day is that in the 7th month?
25th.
The 25th. That is going to be your 15th day of the 7th month. Falls on September 25th. So you're going to circle that. That is also a Shabbathon. It is a day we're not permitted to work. And what you're going to see here with this perfect system, you will never, ever see a holy day fall on a weekly Sabbath. Ever. It won't happen. When you see first fruits starts that night, but that night ain't the Sabbath anymore. That's first day of the week. He is keeping his Sabbaths completely separate. It's sanctified. It's different. When you sanctify, it's separate. It's separate from everything else. Never see anything else fall on the Shabbat. But when you following the moon and using a moon calendar or using the equinox and all that stuff, you will have your holy days fall on the actual Sabbath day. One year, you even have your atonement on the Sabbath day, where you fasting on the Sabbath day, a weekly Sabbath day.
You can't do that.
Verse 36. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you. You shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein.
All right. So on verse 36, it says, on the 8th day shall be a holy convocation. So that's another Sabbathon. So you know the first day is going to be the 25th, which is the 15th day of the 7th month. You're going to count with the 25th being day 1 all the way until you get to the 8th day. That is going to be your last day of Sukkah, tabernacles.
That's October 2nd.
October 2nd. So you're going to circle October 2nd. That is your Yom Sukkah, Hagag Sukkah, day 8. That is the last day of Sukkah, which is also a Sabbathon. You are not permitted to work. So now you have your last holy day. That was your last holy day of the year. Now all those...
Shabbat too, right? It's the Sabbath.
It's a Sabbathon, right? You're not permitted to work. Now, all those days that you circled, which were holy days, if you work in the daytime, keep in mind that our day start at night. So the daytime portion is going to be the next day following that circle. So when you have to take off days from work, the days that are holy days that begin at night, the next day is the day that you have to take off. So if you're looking at the last one we just had, October 2nd, which is a Tuesday, you can work all day Tuesday. You good. Just don't, as long as you ain't working at night. Because when you work at night, now it becomes the Shabbat, the Sabbathon. So that means you have to take Wednesday the 3rd off. Because that night before the 2nd started your Sabbathon. So that caused a little bit confusion in the beginning as well, because sometimes people is counting it with the daytime that they're doing it. Other people is counting at night. I count at night because that's how our day is reconciled, at night, not reconciled on the day. It's reconciled at night. So I do all my holy days starting with the night of. It's confusion if you're starting in the daytime, because then now you're saying that you're starting stuff in the day. What about that night?
It flows into the 3rd.
Right. All right, go ahead and read the rest of that.
Verse 37. These are the feasts of Yahweh which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon this day. Beside the Sabbaths of Yahweh, and beside your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which you give unto Yahweh. Also, in the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep a feast unto Yahweh 7 days. On the 1st day shall be a Shabbat, and on the 8th day shall be a Shabbat. And you shall take you on the 1st day boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim 7 days.
It's just basically giving you more information about tabernacles. It's the same thing. Go ahead.
And you shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever and ever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Yasharal to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. And Moshe declared unto the children of Yasharal the feasts of Yahweh.
All right, so these are the holy days. These are the days that Yahweh gave us. Any other holy days are not holy days. Those are tradition. Anything else that is not given in Torah as thus says Yahweh, these are the feasts of Yahweh, are man-made traditions. That doesn't necessarily make it bad because man made it. As long as it's not doing something pagan, worshiping a pagan god, I might say, hey, look, I graduated on this day. I'm going to celebrate this day every year. That's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I want to go out and have a good time as long as I don't make myself an idol and make everybody have to celebrate that day because of me or my birthday. Everybody got to take off work and buy me gifts and all. No, that's making yourself an idol. But if you want to keep Purim, if you want to keep dedication, Hanukkah and all that stuff, it's in here. It's not Yahweh's holy day. Don't call it Yahweh's holy day because it's not his holy days. He gave us his holy days. That's purely up to you if you want to do it. We done kept so many other pagan traditions. Why would it be wrong to keep things that are at least traditions coming from our culture, as long as the root of it is not pagan. That's fine. But where it becomes a problem is when you add onto this word and you try to tell people that you have to keep Hanukkah. You have to keep it because it's a holy day, Yah's holy day. No, it's not. You're not going to find any ancient tablets or any scripture that's going to tell, thus says Yahweh, on this day, you keep this. So the Jewish people having their little Hanukkah right now. That's in the book.
Could you explain that a bit?
Explain what? Hanukkah?
Yeah, that was wondering about.
Hanukkah just means dedication in Hebrew. The question was to explain Hanukkah. Hanukkah is Feast of Dedication. And I kind of don't really deal with it because I saw several different dedications. So how do I know which one are we supposed to be using when there was no commandment from Yah to do that? But it's a tradition. So people keep it. So I think it's what, the 10th month or something like that, on the 15th day or something like that or whatever. But you can go into, I think it's in Nehemiah, it's also in Maccabees, and they have little stories about, the oil that burned forever and this, that, for 7 days straight or 8 days, or something like that. So they have a little tradition in here regarding it. And when it came to dedication, Yahshua showed up. Didn't say he kept it. He came by. And so his people was there. So at least you can say that Yahshua showed up to it and went to the porch. So to each his own. If you want to keep that, it's cool. But I'll tell you, the days that I'm definitely going to keep is the days that Yahweh says you must keep these days. Those are the days that I'm going to make sure I do. And I'm not going to enforce other days on people that are not thus says Yahweh. But at the same time, I'm not going to rebuke somebody for keeping something out of their culture. There's absolutely nothing wrong with keeping it in your culture. So these are the holy days, and you have them. You can go, we'll be putting up our calendar shortly, where you can download a copy of the calendar. But I suggest that you go back over the class, go through it again, get a blank calendar, do it several times so you get a good understanding and feeling of it. And all you got to do is Leviticus 23, follow it step by step, line by line, precept by precept, and count, and it'll get there. And as we get closer to the new year, we'll do some more classes on this, and we'll also go into the details about each holy day. We'll also go to how do you calculate a new month. We'll go over that again. We'll go over how do we know which month is which month. When we go into Enoch, where we're going to be using the daylight and nighttime portion, durations, which tell you where you are in the year, what day you are in the year, so forth and so on. And it's a lot to go over all at once. So we're just going to stick with just knowing how to calculate the holy days once you know what the months are. So again, if you have any questions or you have comments or anything like that, definitely feel free to reach us, email us. If you have a different way of calculating it, if you can say thus says Yahweh and show us in scripture, then hey, we'll look at it. We'll examine it because we're open. We know one thing. Only thing we can guarantee is we was lied to. That's the only thing we can guarantee. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or anybody want to go over anything or?
There were a few key words that are usually big, like pivotal words, or they usually stand out a lot during these studies. And I wanted to go over them. It was convocation,
right?
Feast / season,
Moadim.
I threw Shabbaton in there, and then month. Those 4 terms.
Okay, if you want to look them up.
Those, yeah.
All right, let's start with Mikra. Let's go to Leviticus 23. And let's go to verse 3. And those are us do some very good points to bring up, because those words alone, the definition of the words, tells you what you're supposed to be doing in a convocation.
So Leviticus 23:3. Or did you use 2?
It doesn't matter. Either one is convocation. You can use 2. What's the Hebrew word?
H4744.
Mikra.
H4744. Yes, Mikra. M-I-Q-R-A.
Mikra, H4744, spelled M-I-Q-R-A. And that is from H7121, something called out. So it's something called out. Hey, announcement is called out. That is a public meeting. Announcement, we are having a public meeting. All of us are gathering. The act, the persons, or the place. Also a rehearsal. So what are we rehearsing? On a mikra, we are rehearsing following instructions. When Yahweh calls out and says, these are my moadim, these are my days, these are my solemn assemblies, this is my holy convocation, then we are rehearsing coming together as a nation to where Yahweh says we're supposed to come together on that specific day. Not the day we want to, not the day that's convenient, not the day that the other people are doing it, but the day that Yah says do it. And it says also calling of assembly, convocation, and reading. So in the physical definition, it's telling you what we are to do. It's supposed to be called out. That means it's supposed to be made known that it's a date. It is a public meeting, which all of us, the public, is supposed to come together and meet. We are to rehearse coming together on Yah's accord, on one accord. And we are to read out of this book. What are we reading? We're not reading War and Peace. We're reading out of the Torah. We're reading out the book, the law. Because keep in mind, back in these days, everybody didn't have a big stone tablet to walk around with. Everybody didn't have enough money to purchase the lamb skin to be able to make paper and to write on the papyrus and all. Everybody couldn't afford that. But guess what? The head of every month, Rosh Hashanah, they would come into the assembly and that priest was reading. And you heard the law, and your kids heard the law. On the holy days, same thing. On the Shabbat, same thing. All right, what's the next word?
Next word is it's used for feast and season in verse 4.
All right.
These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons.
Right. And when you use feasts, it's usually Hagag. But what they put here is they use feast for this word, but the word here is moadeh. Go ahead and you got that definition, H4150.
Moadeh, appointed place, appointed time, meeting, appointed time, sacred season, set festival. I like that, sacred season.
Mm-hmm.
Set feast, appointed season.
All right, so it has a lot of different intricacies in here. So you can't just take one and say it means that for everything, because it's showing you there's different usages of it. So what I have on the Strong's Concordance, it says an appointment that is a fixed time or season. So fixed time of Yahweh's fixed time or season is his holy days. So the moadeh is including the holy days, but it's also including seasons. A season is a fixed point in time, a season for heat, a season for rain, a season for cold, a season for the day to grow longer, a day to grow. So it's what people make mistakes is they put cookie cutter approach. They take moadeh when they see moadeh and they put it down and say that means it's holy day. No, if you look at the usage of that word, it's not always meaning holy day. Sometimes it means seasons. So an appointment that is a fixed time or season, specifically a festival, conventionally a year, by implication an assembly as convened for a definite purpose, technically the congregation, by extension the place of meeting, also as a signal, as appointed beforehand, appointed sign or appointed time, appointed place or solemn assembly, congregation, feast season, synagogue time, appointed time. So again, there's multiple usages in there, but it's all around the same thing, saying an appointed time. But what was the other term they used? A sanctified season or
sacred
something?
season.
A sacred season. That would be the holy days. That would be the Kodesh Moadim, the holy appointed times. So it's good when you're looking up these words and you get a definition. If you have, the Bible applications where you can look up the Strong's word and see every usage of it. When you look at a definition, type in that number and see all the usages of it. And you'll see that they don't use it the same way every time. So that you know that that word doesn't necessarily mean the same exact thing in every single sentence. You have to find multiple witnesses to make sure that you understand that correctly. And Moade, through my own individual study, I've seen it's been used for different things. It's used sometimes for the setup for feasts. Other times it's used for just appointed time. Another time it's used for seasons. And you'll find that when you put that number in and you'll see the English word it was translated into multiple times.
Where is M-O-D?
M-O-A-D-E.
M-O-A-D-E.
Or M-O-E-D. There's, this is just transliteration. So, you can spell it how you want. All right. And what was that last word?
Shabbaton.
Shabbaton. All right. So if we let's go to.
I realize that it occurs with the it occurs in the Day of Atonement scripts, but it also occurs in the trumpet scripts as well.
Every time it's going to occur. Every time you have a day where it says you will have a holy convocation on that day, and it's not a Sabbath, you're going to see Shabbaton in there. And if you look here in first day, you should do no sorrow work therein. We should offer fire.
H7677.
876:77 is Sabbathon.
Shabbat.
All right, so you're going to see that at verse 3, where it says 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day of the Sabbath of rest. You see Sabbathon there when it says rest, so it's letting you know it's a day of rest. And Sabbathon, H7677 is like Sabbath, but with a thon, Shabbathon. And that's from H7676. A Sabbatism or special holiday. Rest. So it's letting you know on those days you're supposed to rest. So it's saying on verse 3, 6 days you shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath, which is the Sabbath day. It's letting you know the seventh day is a Sabbath day. Sabbath of Sabbathon. The seventh day where you rest. The next usage you're going to see that in is going to be in verse 24. Where it says, speak unto the children of Yasharal, saying, in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, you shall have a Sabbath. Now, it's not Sabbath as far as Sabbath day. It's Sabbathon. So it's letting you know that on the 1st day of this month, it's not going to be a Sabbath day. But you're going to rest that day. So you'll see that usage there. Sabbath. Sabbathon. On verse 24. Also in Leviticus 23 and 32, when you go into atonement, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of Sabbathon, rest, H7677. So Sabbathon is to let you know it is a rest day. And when it says holy convocation, no, that's a day that we are inviting the angel in. It's a holy day. It's a set apart day. It's a Moadim that you are not permitted to work, because it'll have that rest day. It don't say that for Pesach. Pesach is a preparation day, because that's the day you killing the lamb, you doing all that. That's Pesach. But unleavened bread, the next day is a holy convocation. You can't work. It's a Sabbathon. So those words are important to understand the difference between Sabbath and Sabbathon. Sabbath is separate. It's completely separate from everything else. Sanctified. 7th day of the week, period. There's nothing else on it. There ain't no holy days on it. Nothing. Completely separate. Every week for 52 weeks. And then you have Sabbathon. The Sabbathon could fall on any day of the week except for the Sabbath. You never see a Sabbathon fall on the Sabbath. You notice that? Ever. Never. Because then the Sabbath wouldn't be sanctified. It'd be like, oh, it's like that day. So when you have these holy days, you treat it like a Sabbath, but it's not all the way like the Sabbath. That day needs to remain completely separate from every other day. That's the day he hallowed. Sabbath on, you don't work. You're permitted to do certain things, but you don't work. You don't gain money. You don't cause anybody to work for you. But on Sabbath day, completely separate. And it's the same thing with Abib. Abib, we observe the whole month of Abib. The coming into that month, we observe that month because it's the beginning of the Hebrew year. It's Rosh Hashanah, separate. There's the only one that was given a name, Abib. Every other month given a number because it's a number in relation to where you are to Abib. Second month, you're the second month away from Abib. Third month, you're the third month away from Abib. Fourth month away from Abib. Everything's in relation. Same thing with the Sabbath. Seventh day of the week. First day, 1 day away from the Sabbath. Second day, 2 days away from the Sabbath. Third day from the Sabbath.
All right, and the last one is month.
Hodesh.
2320.
All right. So H2320 is Hodesh. That is important because in King James, a lot of times they'll translate that to new moon. Even in the Strongs, they put new moon. But again, Hebrew is so brilliant because you can break down the root words of it and see how it adds up into the definition of the word. And you see clearly here, it ain't got nothing to do with the moon. There's no root word in here for moon whatsoever. So that means somebody took what that meant and applied moon to it with their own understanding. Hodesh is H2318. 2320. Hodesh. That's from H2318. The new month, by implication, month, monthly, new month. Now, if you look on here, it's going to say new moon. But if you want to look up new moon, moon is what? H20, what is that?
3120
or something like that? Or
moon is
H3394.
okay.
So you see the word for moon is Yeriach. Or the word for lunation is Yerach, which is the derivative of Jericho, the city that was destroyed, Jericho. So Yerach or Yeriach has absolutely nothing to do with Hodesh. How is it going to be the same thing? It doesn't have the root word. Doesn't make sense. Somebody's lying. And furthermore, if you look at the definition of Yerach, which is the root word for Yeriach is moon, it is H3391, which is literally a lunation. A lunation. So why is there a separate word for a lunation than the word month if it's the same thing? Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up. And if you ever want to get some of these lunar doctrine people for them to bust a gasket, just ask them how many days in a year. Ask them how many days in a year, or ask them, what's the difference between Yerach, Yeriach, and Hodesh, and you'll see their mind just cannot compute and just shut down. They will not. I've yet to have a single person ever give me an answer, even try to address it. They won't. All right, so that's all we're gonna do. Anything else you want to go over?
Oh no, that fulfills it.
Yeah, that's some good study.
If you can, just a second. We go back to the beginning. When we found the first day, so we can start our month from January.
You talking about the first new month of January?
Yeah,
it's the 11th.
That's when we start off we start counting from there. You know what I mean? Then we get to our third month. So
Well, you mean
how do you get that 11th?
The 11th is just 30. Is just 30 days from December new month.
All right.
So you gotta know what month you're in now and what day you're in now, And then once you get to the next new month, which starts the 11th month. So what new month was what, the 12th?
New month of January was
No, new month of December was December 12th. December 12th was new month this year. So
For this year.
This year should have been the 12th.
Remember, we circled the 2018 version.
2017 should have been the 12th.
The 12th, okay, this time is 8.
2018 is the 11th.
11th.
So that means last year would have been January 12th.
Okay.
Because they have 365 days in their Babylon calendar, and we have 364. All right, anything else anybody wants to go over? All right, so that's all we're going to do today. Again, if you have any questions or comments, or if you see something off, or you got some new information that can change the way we see things, by all means share it. We're open and we're humble enough to examine the information, and we learn a lot. We might not agree with certain things, but one thing this assembly has done a good job is being around people that we don't agree with, but at the same time we're able to glean whatever facts that we can prove off the information that they give. Somebody might be trying to teach you the name of the Most High, and you might disagree with them, but then you learn how to keep a holy day from them, or you learn how to speak some Hebrew or whatever. Be humble enough to accept information, but don't take any information and make it yours until you can prove it and verify it. That way you're not following man. All right, let's go ahead and close with a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for your extreme mercy, Yahweh, and allowing your servants, Yahweh, to have a better and a clearer vision of how to satisfy you, Yahweh, how to gather and come together according to your accord, Yahweh. For you said, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven, Yahweh. We want to be those servants, Yahweh, that mirrors that, Yahweh, that shows that we believe your words and that what you say is true and that man is liar, Yah. So we're thankful, though, that even though we are flawed individuals and we are sinful individuals, Yahweh, you have found us worthy to share some of the light with us, Yahweh, to find our way back to that narrow path, Yah. So we ask that you continually allow us to remain humble in our hearts, Yah, so that we can continue taking the instruction that you send to us through your Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, as well as your other servants that are spread across the four corners of the earth, that you have given them information to disseminate, Yahweh, that you allow us to remain humble so that we can receive those gifts that you have given us and our brethren and our sistren that have this information, Yah. And Yah, we ask that you also please forgive us of any errors that we make, Yahweh, and charge it to our ignorance and not to our heart or our desire to be obedient unto you, Yah. And we ask, Yahweh, again, if there anything that we are erring, Yahweh, when it comes to our walk, Yahweh, that you will always send somebody, Yahweh, or send your spirit of understanding to us so that we can quickly make repentance, Yahweh, and willfully show you our obedience, Yahweh, to change no matter, what problems it causes in our lives, Yah. We're thankful, Yahweh, and these things we come together and we pray not only for us, but we ask these things humbly for all your children across the four quarters of the earth, Yahweh, that gather in your name, Yahweh, to show you your sign of obedience, Yahweh. And those that are not quite gathered yet, but that you have chosen, Yah, we ask that you show them the way, Yahweh, for we know time is running out. Yeah, all these things we humbly come before you, and we thank and pray, and we also ask for a special spirit of healing, Yahweh, to all our brothers and sisters that are suffering, Yahweh, from losses of family, losses of situations, Yahweh, splitting up of families, pain that our brothers and sisters go directly through the effects of our sinful nature and this sinful place that we live in, Yahweh. We ask for that mercy, Yahweh, to allow us to endure through that, Yahweh, and pick back up on this narrow path. Yeah, all these things we thank and pray through your holy, humble, anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Yeah, there was a